Hey guys, it's Crystal the nurse here. So I wanted to do a video on a very popular topic, which is sitting after BBL. I know a lot of people talk about this, they go back and forth about this, so I kind of just wanted to make a video and set the record straight. So let's get right into it. So essentially a BBL is, of course, the fat transfer from a particular area of your body to the desired area of your body, whether it be the hips, the butt, and doctors tend to mold everything together and whatnot. So I think what's something that's important to communicate is the fact that a lot of women are getting their BBLs either out of town, out of state, out of country. So this is something to keep in mind because a lot of women are flying back home and getting on the plane and doing the whole process. So of course, one really important thing to notate is the fact that a lot of surgeons are mindful when they take the fat out of a particular area. They do things very swiftly, because once they take the fat out of a particular area, they only have a certain amount of time to put it back in, so to ensure that that fat that's being transferred has enough oxygen and is healthy and is able to connect with the existing fat that's there. For instance, if for some reason someone, liposuctioned fat out of a particular area and left it there, essentially most of that fat would die and would be a waste of transfer. So that's something to keep in mind that not a lot of people know. So really good surgeons are very mindful of this. Sorry, my dogs you're gonna see dogs in the videos. Really good surgeons are mindful of this when they are doing the fat transfers. So once you're out of surgery, I've seen some very creative ways to, of course, preserve the butt and make sure you don't touch it. A lot of women ask me, why are we on our butts when we wake up? And I think, honestly, your body's incredibly fresh after surgery. You have to keep in mind your body is like a big wound. So it's filled with lymphatic drainage very quickly. It's filled with blood and a mixture of these things. So a surgeon and the recovery, the recovery room is also very mindful of not keeping you there for too long. They want to make sure that as soon as you're up from anesthesia, you're alert as possible, and then you're on your way and not sitting on your butt after that. So to be on your butt very quickly straight away after surgery isn't very detrimental. So I just wanted to communicate that as well. I see very interesting ways that women try to preserve the butt. Of course, they sleep on their stomachs or relax on their stomachs, which is perfectly fine. I understand that sleeping on your stomachs, which is also very important in this. We can't just talk about sitting, unless we also talk about sleeping, because it all kind of blends in with the proper process of recovery. So, I completely understand sleeping on the stomach is incredibly uncomfortable, especially if it's not something that you're naturally used to, but it is part of the process, and I promise you it gives you the amazing results that you want. I also have some patients that ask me, whether sleeping in a recliner is something that is an option. Honestly, I never recommend my patients to sleep on a recliner. Even if you have the donut, even if you have another donut under the donut, I do not recommend that, because you have to keep in mind, even though you're trying to create something that's a little bit more comfortable, which I get, you are still putting pressure on your butt. I don't want it to sound like this magic trick, but staying off your butt is the best method. Even if you have a pillow and you have sheets that are kind of cushioning the pillow, you're still putting pressure on your butt. One thing I do like to ask my patients is their level of seriousness about the surgery within itself, and also their level of dedication post-op, and how far they're willing to kind of bear after surgery and what they're willing to do. Because there's a lot of women that say they're going to do it and they don't do it. So, and I get it. It's not a comfortable situation, but this is part of the uncomfortable process of the healing. And I get it. Your back hurts and you feel uncomfortable and you're already going through a ton of pain, but this is what you got to do. So this is what I tell my patients. The best method is to sleep on your stomach. And, maybe find pillows to put underneath yourself while you sleep on your stomach to make it a little bit more comfortable. But again, I don't recommend the recliner just because it's almost like we're fooling ourselves a little bit with the donut or the pillows or whatever other devices that we're utilizing, which eventually just result in our butt going on top of it. Gravity does what gravity does. So we want to make sure that you're getting the best results. So I will say that is a very important key factor. Now, when it comes to the actual sitting, I feel like it should be broken down in a couple of stages because some women early on, after the very initial stages, some women early on will want to use the boppy pillow. I think that's the correct one where it's firm and you're not putting pressure on directly on the butt. Here's the thing. Even if you are sitting on that pillow or that cushion properly, if you sit on it super early and on top of that you're sitting on it too long, what a lot of my patients have even expressed is that when they're sitting on it, they start to feel, almost like you're losing a little bit of circulation down there. And in a sense you are, because your body is trying to heal. It's not, even though you had the surgery, for most women, they'll do the 360, which is through the abdomen, or they'll get it through their arms too. But your legs are connected to your butt. So if you're cutting off circulation to your legs, then you are setting up the potential risk for cutting circulation off to your butt. You want to give that whole area the most amount of oxygen as possible, or guess what? You're going to lose a lot of those fat cells, and we don't want that. So, I will say early on, don't use that boppy pillow or BBL pillow. Don't use any pillows too much for too long early on, because again, it's like you're almost trying to fool yourself, but at the same time you're still putting pressure on that area. You want the blood that's going through the legs. This is why we also wear the compression hose on the legs. We want all that circulation on the bottom half of your body doing what it's supposed to be doing. Okay, so keep it to a minimum until you start to feel a little bit, your whole body starts to feel a little bit better, and you're in that mode where you're starting to drive again or whatnot. I will say this is how I kind of communicate it to my patients, because with all my patients I do custom consults. I go from head to toe with all my patients, based on their medical history to what procedure they're getting. I need to make sure that my patients are getting exactly what they should. During the healing process, the fluffing stage, which a lot of women talk about, is essentially when the existing fat cells, are put together with the transferred fat. And so they need oxygen. And what happens is during the healing process, in a nutshell, we're not going to get too clinical because I want everyone to understand, but in a nutshell, when you're putting the new fat cells or the existing fat cells that are there, whether this is your butt or your hips, you want those to connect and you want them to be flowing with blood and oxygen and all that good stuff. And that's what happens during the fluffing stage. Once they're connected and there's a healthy flow of oxygen, then they start to fluff and they start to, how do you say, soften. And for a lot of women, some women don't necessarily fluff out of control, but what happens is the fat will settle. It's almost like a bruise, it's hard at first. That's why a lot of the butts are hard at first when you first have the BBL. And then the bruise softens and it gets back to the rest of your body. The same concept, you know. Some women, it doesn't really expand too crazy. It just kind of settles. Every body is different. Every anatomy is different. So the way I like to explain to my patients, when you've experienced your fluffing stage, whether the butt has settled into its natural jiggly, it feels like your body, or you notice it even expands because before it was really firm and now it's expanding, I would say that is an appropriate time to start testing out the sitting, seeing how you feel, because a lot of women don't even feel comfortable when they start sitting down. They sit down and they feel like, not necessarily like a sharp pain, but it's what is described as a very dull pain. They almost feel like it's something there that they can't really describe, but it's like, girl, that's the new fat back there. You got to take care of it. So that's what we want to preserve. So once the fluffing stage starts to take effect, I would say that's a very good indicator of when you can start sitting down, because then you know in your head, your body tells you first, right? Your body tells you when, essentially everything. Your body tells you if you're rejecting something. Your body tells you if something that you're doing is being received well to your body as well. So your body will also show you that now that these fat cells have connected together and they're healthy and they're fluffing, that means you run a lesser risk of damaging them now by sitting. Okay. Now, for those women out there that are telling girls, oh, I sat on my butt the next day, I sat on my butt 2 days later. Okay. I'm not here to talk smack about anybody that is not this kind of channel, that is not this kind of group. Um, and I really appreciate if other people weren't necessarily talking negatively about anybody else. That's not what this is. I will say, if that's what the next person wants to do with their body and paying the money that they did for their surgery, then that is their choice. However, someone who sat, let's say they sat 2 days after, they cannot sit here and say that they know what their butt's gonna look. They know the expectations of their butt a month from now or 2 months from now. Because if you sit too early, you could have prevented your butt from expanding a little bit more. You could have prevented your butt from settling a little bit better. So someone who sits too early can never truly say, oh, my butt didn't change. Nothing happened. You can't say that because it's an unknown as to what would happen or what happened after you started sitting too early. If your butt would have expanded a little bit more, you can't sit here and say nothing happened to my butt, right? Of course, a lot of women are looking at that moment. This is what my butt is now that I'm sitting. And no, a lot of women say, oh, I sat on my butt and nothing changed. Okay. But it could have changed. It could have changed in a way you might have liked. Do you see what I'm saying? So, unfortunately, no one who sits early can honestly say that nothing changed because they can't speak of something that's unknown. So, I never, of course, tell my patients to sit straight away. First of all, it's uncomfortable. I'm not even sure. I mean, I don't know. Some people like being uncomfortable. I don't know. But I will say, it's not fun getting straight out of a BBL. It's uncomfortable. So sitting, hey, if you feel good, that's you. Then you do you. But when it comes to my patients and they have consults with me and I break things down to them, I tell them the truth. I tell them the nitty gritty of, someone might fluff it 2 months, another woman might fluff it 4, which is why sometimes I don't like when people kind of cross check their information too much and take it too literally, because if someone does it at 4 months, then someone, might feel like that's too long or that's too early. It's not happening to me. And then it becomes this like mental frustration. So it's really important to know that you are in your own lane. Yes, people have their experiences and they share their experiences on YouTube and surgery groups, but at the end of the day, you are in your own lane. And the best thing to keep in mind is to make sure that your process is done in a healthy manner, that you're feeding the fat, and you're not putting as much pressure as you can possibly tolerate during the early healing stages. The first few months are vital. If you, okay, the first few months, I'll say it again, are super vital. So, yeah, I would definitely say once that fluffing stage hits, that is a really good indicator that, hey, now I can start sitting. Now my body is telling me that my fat cells are connecting. They have oxygen. They're fluffing. They're looking good. I'm feeling, now is a good time and I feel comfortable, and now it's a safe time, to start sitting and feeling confident that it's not going to start damaging. Because once those fat cells are connected, you're in a pretty good spot. So just wanted to share this video. Please let me know what you think in your comments down below. I definitely want to do some more videos. I finally decided I wanted to share. You know, we'll talk about some future things in the future, whether it be breast augmentations and tummy tucks and everything under the sun. But for now, I am signing off. Crystal the Nurse. I will see you next time.